And welcome back to Ozarks Live. Now, many of you know, Cami went to Africa. We talked about it a little last week, but if you missed it, Cami, why don't you kind of catch us up real quick about your trip?
Okay, so the whole purpose was actually, it was with World Serve International, who is a nonprofit organization that goes and puts water wells in Africa because there are so many people that don't get fresh water, and the women have to walk sometimes 8 hours to get water that is not clean. And so there's like 2,000 child deaths per day from the unclean water, and so that's their mission, and that was what caught my eye about it. And of course I'm always up for a challenge, and so that's where Mount Kilimanjaro, it was more about, it's about raising funds for the water wells, but also raising awareness for what they do.
Okay.
And so that was the purpose. So I filmed a little thing about my physical prep for this trip before I went. So it's really interesting for me now to sit back and watch what I was thinking ahead of time.
Yeah.
But it worked. It worked. So here, take a look at this. Mount Kilimanjaro is the highest point in Africa at over 19,000 feet. Let me just admit that I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm extremely fitness oriented, or I personally wouldn't have chosen to take this trip. But I am starting out from scratch and figuring out how to prepare. So I Googled how to physically prepare for Mount Kilimanjaro. One article that I read was written for USA Today's travel tips. And here's what I found. Number 1, increase your aerobic fitness. Number 2, increase your endurance. Number 3, break in your equipment. Number 4, train at altitude. And number 5, know your body's limits. I've been running, walking, and doing things like the elliptical and recumbent bike for years. I've run plenty of half marathons and a few full marathons, but not recently. So currently, most days I'm on my elliptical about 40 minutes, 6 days a week, with some running mixed in, and part of that is high intensity interval training. My neighborhood happens to be extremely hilly, which is helpful, but the elevation is nowhere near the altitude I will be at. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty worried about altitude sickness. I did get a prescription from my doctor to combat this, and you start taking it 2 days before the climb and take it the whole time. If you wait until you're sick to start taking it, I've been told that it won't help a bit. I've also been told that if you're in physical shape to run a half marathon, you should be in plenty good shape enough to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So I went out and I did 10 miles the other day just to see where I was on that. And cardio-wise, I felt fabulous, but I had a bit of a hip flexor issue going on, so I didn't try to go beyond 10 miles. That issue worries me a bit because hip flexors are engaged going uphill. Welcome to the over 40 club of random parts hurting. In addition to the cardio, I lift as heavy weights as I can for about 45 minutes, 5 days a week. One thing that I read talks about the importance of squats, which those happen to be in my rotation on leg days, which are 2 times a week, and I do 2 different types of squats each time I do them. I haven't even gotten my backpack yet, so I'm not currently training with it. That could be a problem. The last thing that I want to share about the physical side of this is that we all have different learning styles and love languages. I learn best by doing something myself. You can explain something all day, but until I do it for myself, I won't understand. And the best kind of quality time with friends for me is when I go for a run together or play tennis together or something along those lines. I go crazy sitting down for very long. And the place I hear God the loudest is when I'm moving. When I'm moving, it clears my head and I'm in a better place to talk things over with God. It's just how I do quiet time. That's usually the time when I can get alone, and even if I'm at a public gym, I will have my headphones in, listening to my audio Bible and just letting God speak. So for me, when I think of hiking a mountain away from all other distractions, I can already feel the direct connection with God. Pushing my body's physical limits is one way I say, God, I'm going to get up and go after all you have for me, both physically and spiritually. We all function differently, so I know there's a lot of people who don't think like me in this. But my challenge to you is to position yourself in whatever way you need in order to hear God and to see His glory.